and drove his jawbone right through his brain because he pushed him.
I didn't mean to kill him.
You didn't mean to kill him, but you did kill him, didn't you?
A war film made 6 decades ago, still beloved today, is The Dirty Dozen. Released in 1967, the film tells the story of Major John Reisman, played by Lee Marvin, and 12 prisoners sentenced to death or life imprisonment who are assigned a near-suicidal mission: infiltrate a Nazi stronghold and eliminate high-ranking officers. The film delivers breathtaking action sequences, but beneath the surface is a story of redemption, sacrifice, and the power of camaraderie. With a budget of $5.4 million, the film grossed over $45 million, becoming a cinematic phenomenon. But what happened behind the camera was even more fascinating and dramatic.
Forward observation report, brute force tanks approaching our FDLs at map reference.
Director Aldrich had the actors live in a real military barracks to experience the life of prisoners, and they accidentally set fire to the chateau, causing MGM to cover the costs. Interestingly, John Wayne was offered the role of Major John Reisman but declined over a detail in the script. Have you ever wondered what secrets lie behind the thrilling moments of The Dirty Dozen? Were there incidents that caused actors to lose hearing entirely or nearly lose their heads? Let's explore 20 of the strangest facts about The Dirty Dozen that you've never known. 20. A grueling shoot amid heavy rain. In the summer of 1966, as England was drenched in endless rain, the crew of The Dirty Dozen struggled through one of the harshest shoots in film history. The movie was primarily filmed at MGM British Studios in Boreham Wood, Hertfordshire, where art director William Hutchinson and his team constructed a massive French castle set over 15 metres high and more than 720 yards long. The grounds were surrounded by hundreds of pine willow ferns and shrubs, creating such a vivid landscape that many viewers believed it was a real European location. But under the damp English skies, the grand structure quickly became a logistical nightmare. Continuous heavy rain throughout the summer repeatedly interrupted filming, halting production for weeks. The crew, including hundreds of actors and technicians, were trapped in muddy fields and dealing with malfunctioning equipment due to high humidity. This resulted in massive cost overruns, over $1 million above budget, raising the total from $4 million to around $5.4 million, a huge sum for the 1960s. Some reports say filming schedules had to be postponed multiple times, prompting Robert Aldrich to wryly remark, "Even the Nazis couldn't slow the crew down like English weather." What do you think about this harsh shoot? Share your thoughts. 19. John Wayne declined the lead role over a single detail. Major John Reisman was originally a role tailored for John Wayne Hollywood's indomitable icon at the time. MGM and director Robert Aldrich believed Wayne's rugged, tough persona would make Reisman perfect. Wayne received the script and was intrigued by the idea of an officer leading 12 prisoners into near-certain death. However, after a few days reading the draft, he abruptly declined because of a single detail: Reisman has an affair with an English woman whose husband is fighting on the front lines. For Wayne, this was unacceptable. He believed an American officer, a symbol of honor and military spirit, could not betray such values merely to add dramatic tension. "I don't want any part of that affair," Wayne said bluntly. Although MGM was willing to revise the script to keep him, Wayne resolutely stepped away, believing the film did not reflect the military ethos he revered. After leaving The Dirty Dozen, Wayne devoted himself to The Green Berets 1968, a film celebrating the bravery of American soldiers in Vietnam. The role of Reisman went to Lee Marvin, who brought a rugged, cold and tragic edge to the character that Wayne likely would never have portrayed. Do you think the film would have been different if Wayne had played the role? Share your thoughts in the comments. 18. Actors forced to live in a military barracks during filming. When filming moved to England, director Robert Aldrich decided that the criminals thrown into war shouldn't just act, they had to live it. Instead of allowing the Hollywood stars to stay in luxury hotels, he had them move into a refurbished old military barracks in rural Hertfordshire. Bare rooms, old iron beds, freezing water, and bland military food. All were left as in real training conditions. Aldrich did this not to save costs, but as a psychological experiment. He wanted the actors to feel confinement, harshness, and pent-up anger emotions their characters carried. At first, everyone complained. Donald Sutherland later recalled, "Everyone went crazy over the lack of privacy, cold showers, and snoring all night. But then something strange happened. After a week, the group from Charles Bronson and Telly Savalas to Jim Brown began to form a forced but genuine camaraderie. They were no longer actors pretending to suffer, but men immersed in a disciplined environment, bonded yet ready to explode." It was also in the barracks that tensions exceeded Aldrich's expectations. Real scuffles broke out once Bronson and Savalas almost fought, only stopped by Lee Marvin intervening. 17. A chateau fire. At 3:30 a.m. on September 21, 1966, after a temporary halt due to thick fog, part of the massive chateau set at MGM British Studios, Boreham Wood, suddenly erupted in flames. The fire started at 6:29 a.m. with no one on set. It was a moment both lucky and frightening. Lucky because no one was injured. Frightening because a large section of the 100,000+ set, designed like a real fortress, was destroyed. Witnesses said the castle was so solid that the crew initially planned to use 70 tons of real explosives to film the destruction in the climax. The special effects engineer even warned that the structure was stronger than military concrete walls. The unexpected fire forced Robert Aldrich to change plans. Instead of explosives, they used a mixture of cork and synthetic materials to recreate the blast safely and cheaply. After the incident, Aldrich reportedly stood silently before the charred ruins, murmuring, "Perhaps God wanted it to blow up." 16. Tom Busby nearly dead during a training scene. The famous training scene in The Dirty Dozen, where 12 prisoners climb the fortress wall, is one of Hollywood's most dangerous sequences. No safety nets, no padding, just ropes, wooden scaffolding, and gravity. In a terrifying fall from 30 feet, Tom Busby, playing Milo Vladek, nearly lost his life. He fell, breaking his collarbone and suffering a deep gash perilously close to his jugular. Instead of halting production, Robert Aldrich had medics treat him just off camera while the scene continued. The next day, Busby returned heavily bandaged, and the following shots were cleverly arranged to conceal his injuries. In today's Hollywood, an accident like this would halt production for weeks. But at the time, the courage and daring of the crew created a classic heart-stopping sequence. 15. Jim Brown chose the film over his NFL career. Jim Brown was an NFL star, the seemingly invincible icon of the Cleveland Browns, admired nationwide. But this film ended his illustrious sports career forever. Brown had a contract requiring him to return to the team by July 1967 for training camp. However, with the English rain delaying filming, director Robert Aldrich refused to adjust the schedule. On top of that, Brown faced racism and harassment on set, slurs scrawled on dressing room doors, cold stares from some white colleagues. The studio conducted a perfunctory investigation, then ignored it. Caught between glory in sports and the dangerous world of film, Brown chose the latter. He retired from the NFL at 30, forfeiting millions in salary and ending a bitter relationship with team owner Art Modell. The press called him a sports traitor, but Brown said coldly, "I came here to make a movie and ended up making enemies I never wanted." What do you think of Jim's choice? Share your thoughts. 14. Donald Sutherland's general disguise scene led to mass. The general disguise scene in The Dirty Dozen, where Vernon L. Pinkley inspects the troops of Colonel Everett, Dasher Breed, Robert Ryan, was originally written for Clint Walker. However, Walker refused, believing it demeaned his Native American character. The role then went to Donald Sutherland, who was not yet famous. It's hard to imagine anyone else playing Pinkley, but Sutherland's casting was pivotal. If Walker hadn't declined, Sutherland's career might have gone in a completely different direction. The seemingly minor general disguise scene had a huge impact. This mischievous yet clever scene drew Hollywood directors' attention, and Pinkley became the reason Sutherland was later cast as Benjamin Hawkeye Pierce in MASH 1970. It was the turning point that established him as an international star, blending humour and cunning. Are you impressed by this role? Share your thoughts. 13. The film is based on a best-selling novel. Before becoming a war film icon, The Dirty Dozen was a literary phenomenon. E.M. Nathanson's 1965 novel quickly topped the New York Times bestseller list, selling over 2 million copies and translated into 10 languages. Nathanson was inspired by rumours of a real American special unit in World War II, criminal soldiers, given a chance at redemption through a suicide mission behind enemy lines. Although the US Army never confirmed such a unit existed, Nathanson turned the story into a dark hero's tale, blurring lines between honour, guilt, and survival. After the novel's success, MGM purchased the adaptation rights for a record price. The studio saw its potential thrilling action combined with a powerful anti-war message during the escalating Vietnam War. The screenplay was revised for Hollywood language. Some characters removed, the ending softened compared to Nathanson's grim original. Yet director Robert Aldrich preserved the novel's dark, wild spirit, making the film not just a faithful adaptation, but a bold rebirth, turning war literature into a visceral, emotionally charged cinematic experience. 12. Charles Bronson's coal mining past. Charles Bronson grew up among coal and dust. Born in Ehrenfeld, Pennsylvania, to Lithuanian immigrant parents, his father was a miner working hard to support his children. As a boy, Bronson was exposed to mining, first in offices, then deep underground, earning $1 per ton of coal. Those days of dim light and machinery noise shaped the tough, silent yet powerful persona he later brought to the screen. Interestingly, in The Dirty Dozen, Bronson's character, Joseph Vladislaw, also talks about his family and father's mining work. This was not fictional. The on-screen story closely mirrored Bronson's harsh, real-life past. His mining experience built physical strength, willpower, and understanding of survival in tough environments. 11. Lee Marvin was frequently drunk. Lee Marvin's secret to his character lay in alcohol. Most shooting days, Marvin appeared drunk, starting with beer and vodka early in the morning, yet delivered precise, convincing performances. A former Marine who fought in the Pacific wounded at Saipan, he used alcohol to manage pain and battlefield trauma, channeling it into his acting energy. Robert Aldrich knew, but did not intervene. Lee knew exactly how much he needed to perform, Aldrich said. Production assistants ensured he appeared on set, leaving alcohol management to him. The result was miraculous and bizarre, a drunk actor flawlessly executing the most complex scenes while maintaining the character's sharpness and power. 10. A system of violence ratings born from the film. The Dirty Dozen changed cinema because director Robert Aldrich depicted violence raw, naked, and unflinching, especially in the scene where the prisoners throw grenades into a shelter containing German officers and accompanying women, which horrified audiences and enraged critics. This was no longer the artful violence of classic Hollywood. It was cold-blooded, close-up slaughter. And it was this shock that made The Dirty Dozen a catalyst for a cinematic revolution. Jack Valenti, newly appointed president of the Motion Picture Association of America, singled out The Dirty Dozen when calling for the replacement of Hollywood's outdated censorship system. He argued that audiences needed clearer warnings about the level of violence and sexual content in films not via bans, but through a transparent rating system. The film's tremendous success, despite or because of its shocking nature, convinced Valenti that the Hays Code era was over. Only 16 months after the film's release, the MPAA officially introduced the film rating system. We know today GPGR and later NC-17. Without Aldrich's bloody rebellion, Hollywood might have taken many more years to enter this era of freedom. But the battle was not only outside the theatre, it also erupted in the editing room. The Dirty Dozen almost became Hollywood's first blockbuster to be labelled obscene due to its brutality. In Aldrich's original cut submitted to MGM, the final chateau scene was far more harrowing. The camera lingered on the trapped German officers and women in flames, a testament to war's inhumanity. Studio executives were shocked upon viewing. The MPAA even warned the film might be banned if cuts weren't made. Aldrich resisted, insisting he didn't make movies to make audiences comfortable, but after weeks of tension, he had to compromise, cutting nearly 7 minutes of horrific immolation to allow theatrical release. Even after being softened, The Dirty Dozen still received an R rating, extremely rare for a 1967 blockbuster. The excised footage was never publicly released. Rumours persist that Aldrich secretly kept his original cut in a private collection circulated among collectors for decades. We pushed every limit, admitted editor Michael Luciano, then stepped back just one measure from the abyss. What do you think about this fact? Share your thoughts. 9. The cast was much older than the characters they played. In reality, most actors were significantly older than their characters. Lee Marvin, the tough major. John Reisman was 43 during filming, while Charles Bronson, Joseph Vladislaw, was 45. The rest of the Dirty Dozen group were mostly in their 30s to 40s, while audiences imagined their characters as fresh recruits. Casting middle-aged actors rather than younger faces gave the group a seasoned, world-weary appearance. They were not just reckless young men, but veterans, their fatigue, toughness, and experience visible on their faces. 8. Marvin called the film a scam director forced military haircuts. Few know that Marvin once called The Dirty Dozen a money-making scam, believing the film did not reflect the reality of the Wabibawiwatu combat he experienced. Nevertheless, his performance remained powerful and convincing, creating a character that audiences believed genuinely led people through the fire of war. Additionally, to increase realism, Robert Aldrich imposed an unexpected but non-negotiable requirement. All actors had to adopt 1940s military haircuts rather than the modern 1960s styles popular on set. Initially, the actors hesitated, even reacting to the threat of legal consequences if they refused. But Aldrich was uncompromising. He wanted every detail to feel authentic. As a result, a group of Hollywood stars accustomed to glamorous lights and stylish hair sacrificed personal appearance to become real warriors. What do you think about this? Share your thoughts. 7. Many actors had military experience. Lee Marvin, Charles Bronson, Telly Savalas, George Kennedy, Robert Webber, Robert Ryan, Clint Walker and Ernest Borgnine all served in World War II. Marvin, Webber and Ryan were Marines. Bronson was in the Army Air Forces. Savalas and Kennedy fought in the US Army. Walker served in the US Merchant Marine. Borgnine in the Navy. Their real-life experience helped them portray commandos with authenticity, skill, and fighting spirit, making it hard for audiences to distinguish acting from genuine survival instincts. For Major John Reisman, Lee Marvin drew inspiration from his closest friend, John Miara. They had fought together in war, and Marvin skillfully integrated Miara's personality traits, decisiveness, and loyalty into Reisman. 6. A real-life unit sent a letter to the filmmakers. During post-production, Robert Aldrich received a mysterious package containing photos, mission reports, and a handwritten letter from someone claiming to be a member of an actual Dirty Dozen unit in World War II. The sender was former Staff Sergeant Thomas Collins, who served in a special OSS unit largely composed of military prisoners offered reduced sentences in exchange for undertaking extremely dangerous missions behind German lines. The letter and documents described 3 operations from 1943 to 1945, targeting high-ranking German officers at heavily guarded locations closely mirroring the film's fictional plot. Although MGM's legal department advised against publicising the information fearing potential production complaints, Aldrich met privately with Collins after the film was completed. He skillfully incorporated some details from the veteran into the final cut, giving the movie both entertainment value and surprising authenticity. 5. Many spin-offs. The immense success of The Dirty Dozen paved the way for spin-offs, sequels, and television projects based on the prisoners sent on near-suicidal missions trope. Notably, The Dirty Dozen Next Mission, 1985. The official sequel saw Lee Marvin and Ernest Borgnine return leading a new team on dangerous operations. Its success inspired further TV films including The Dirty Dozen, The Deadly Mission, 1987, and The Dirty Dozen, The Fatal Mission, 1988. Continuing stories of new Dirty Dozen teams or mixing old faces, creating a linked war action universe. The Dirty Dozen's influence extended beyond direct sequels. According to The Wrap, the film inspired many later action war works, even influencing modern films like Inglourious Basterds 2009, with the off-the-books Commando team motif. 4. Pedro Jimenez was not supposed to die in the parachute scene. Trini Lopez, a Mexican singer-actor, was cast as Pedro Jimenez, the group's demolitions expert and mechanical engineer. In the original script, Jimenez would have one of the film's most heroic moments, climbing a German radio tower to plant explosives, sacrificing himself in a massive blast to allow the team to complete the mission. But during filming in England, Lopez unexpectedly left the crew, partly because MGM wanted to shorten the shoot and Lopez was being pulled back to the US for his booming music career. Although the true reason was never confirmed, his departure forced director Robert Aldrich to rewrite the plot. Instead of filming Jimenez's heroic death, the character was cut with the brief explanation that he died in a parachute jump. To fill the climactic gap, the tower explosion was reassigned to Milo Vladek, played by Tom Busby, turning him into the hero originally intended for Lopez. 3. Aldrich shot 2 alternate endings rejected by MGM. In the final days of shooting, believing they were heading toward a bloody but triumphant conclusion, Aldrich secretly filmed an alternate ending, darker, raw, and more hopeless. In this version, none of the 12 Dirty Dozen survived, including Major Reisman. As smoke cleared, German soldiers walked through the castle ruins and found the team's bodies scattered among debris. The final scene was a silent military ceremony with their criminal records expunged, a bitter act of redemption with no survivors to witness it. MGM did not approve. When executives discovered the dark cut in post-production, they were visibly furious. The Dirty Dozen was promoted as a thrilling entertainment film, not a nihilistic statement on war and pointless sacrifice. They ordered Aldrich to remove the dark ending and replace it with the more hopeful version, where Reisman and a few survived the fire. Aldrich objected, attempting to screen both versions for test audiences, but MGM destroyed the original reels before they could be shown. Later, Aldrich bitterly recounted in an interview that the Dirty Dozen audiences watched for decades was not the story he wanted to tell. To him, war was never about survival. It was about necessary sacrifice. 2. Charles Bronson and Telly Savalas clashed fiercely. On screen, Charles Bronson and Telly Savalas appeared as tough, indomitable soldiers ready to fight alongside each other to the last breath. Behind the camera, the atmosphere was entirely different. They represented opposite acting styles. Bronson was quiet, disciplined, and prepared every detail before filming. Cassavetes was impulsive, adaptive, and frequently changed lines. These differences quickly escalated into tension. Exchanges on set became icy, and the looks between them, which audiences assumed were acting, were filled with genuine irritation. Crew members recalled a peak confrontation during a shoot when Cassavetes made an ill-timed joke enraging Bronson to the point that he punched the wall and stormed out, leaving the set in heavy silence. Director Robert Aldrich chose not to intervene. He quietly instructed cameras to capture their confrontations, understanding that their real hostility added authentic energy to the film. "You can't fake hatred like that," Aldrich later said. "I just made sure they were in the frame together." After the film, Bronson and Cassavetes never worked together again. Both remained silent about the past, but crew members said that merely mentioning the other's name would instantly change their expressions. 1. The small secret on the final day of shooting among the cast. On the final day of filming, Lee Marvin, playing Major Reisman, and the soul of the crew gathered a small group including Charles Bronson, Jim Brown, and John Cassavetes for a quiet ritual away from cameras and studio oversight. They brought personal mementos, each tied to their journey on set, and placed them in a time capsule. Marvin wrote a handwritten letter about redemption and sacrifice, and together they buried the box beneath the largest oak on the property with the promise, "Let it rest for 50 years." No one outside the four knew the exact location. Now, all four have passed away. As the Hertfordshire estate changed ownership multiple times, the location of this cinematic treasure became a lost legend. Gina Rowlands, Cassavetes' widow, revealed the box contained Marvin's Marine ID, Bronson's first acting contract, and personal keepsakes from each member. According to Marvin's wish, the box was to be unearthed. After half a century, the time has come. Yet with no surviving witnesses, the secret may lie forever beneath English soil, where the film's soldiers once lived as if for real. The Dirty Dozen is not just a war masterpiece, but a treasure trove of dramatic, mysterious, and audacious behind-the-scenes stories, from a hidden ending and near-banned scenes to a buried time capsule of cinematic legends. These 20 facts show the film was more than entertainment. It was a milestone that reshaped American cinema, forever changing how we view war violence and humanity on screen. And you, among these 20 secrets behind The Dirty Dozen, which impresses you the most? The dark ending buried by the studio, or the time capsule hidden somewhere in England? Share your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss untold cinematic stories where every classic film hides a secret waiting to be unearthed.